Russian strike in Cuba. Russia and BRICS send 80,000 tons of diesel to Cuba in an unexpected twist that defies the logic of blockades and the economic siege imposed for decades. Russia has launched a powerful energy blow in favor of Cuba. This is not just about fuel, but a declaration of principles, a gesture laden with geopolitical symbolism that shakes the foundations of the old unipolar order. The shipment of 80,000 tons of diesel from Moscow to Havana is not simply an act of relief. It is the living testimony of an alliance that is strengthening, expanding, and challenging those who have tried to isolate the Caribbean island from the rest of the world. The news hit hard. It was none other than Russian Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Chernenko, one of Vladimir Putin's closest men, who announced it in a solemn tone. By instructions of our president, Russia is ready to provide emergency aid to sister Cuba. Our shipment includes the supply of nearly 80,000 tons of diesel fuel, worth an estimated $60 million. His words echoed through the halls of power in Havana and reverberated uneasily in Western decision-making centers. The message was clear: Cuba is not alone, and the BRICS are determined to change the rules of the global game. This supply does not arrive at just any moment. Cuba is going through one of its worst energy crises in recent times. Power outages, fuel shortages for public transport, the shutdown of key industries, and the inability to maintain adequate food production have turned everyday life for millions of Cubans into a constant struggle. The intensified economic blockade in recent years has turned energy into a double-edged sword: internal scarcity and external pressure. But now, an ocean of solidarity extends from Moscow to the Caribbean, and it is not an isolated gesture. It is part of a broader strategy, a shared vision among countries historically marginalized or sanctioned for resisting the dictates of Washington and Brussels. Russian aid, wrapped in political brotherhood, has a powerful symbolic component. It marks the beginning of a new stage in cooperation between Cuba and the BRICS countries, just as the island has been accepted as a partner of the bloc. Behind the energy gesture lies a deeper diplomatic strategy. The recent visit of Dmitry Chernenko to the island was much more than a bilateral meeting. It was an act of historical reaffirmation, a return to the roots of Cuban-Soviet cooperation, and a determined look toward the future. The Russian Deputy Prime Minister didn't just speak with his Cuban counterpart, Ricardo Cabreces. He also visited schools, gave out gifts, toured symbolic sites like the Temple of the Icon of the Mother of God of Kazan in Havana, and made it clear that this alliance is not temporary, but structural. Every barrel of diesel unloaded at Cuban ports represents a victory against the blockade. It means the reactivation of power plants that had been forced to operate at minimum levels due to lack of resources. It also means that hospitals can keep vital equipment running, that public transportation can operate without relying on minimal reserves, and that food production can resume its course. Cuba breathes, and it does so thanks to the fuel from a political alliance that is beginning to show its real power. It is no exaggeration to say that this fuel shipment is also a political earthquake. The message is direct: blockades are no longer infallible. Emerging powers Russia, China, India, Brazil, South Africa, and the new BRICS partners are willing to break the siege, to build bridges where once walls stood. In this dynamic, Cuba becomes both symbol and witness. It is living proof that a new multipolar order is taking shape, and that the logic of economic punishment as a tool of geopolitical control is beginning to fail. The logistical scale of the Russian operation is also revealing. 80,000 tons of diesel is no small matter. It involves interministerial coordination, transatlantic naval logistics, infrastructure agreements, and flawless execution, showing that Russia is not improvising. Every ship crossing the Atlantic is a symbol of resistance. Every ton unloaded is another crack in the wall of the blockade. And in this equation, the role of BRICS becomes especially relevant. Cuba's inclusion as a BRICS partner is not a symbolic act, it's a redefinition of priorities. For the first time, a group of Global South countries is uniting to build a real alternative to the power concentrated in Washington and Brussels. This is no longer just about speeches. There is fuel, there is infrastructure, there is real, tangible cooperation. And that changes everything. This act of energy support also resonates across Latin America. Chernenko's tour didn't start in Cuba. The Russian official first visited Venezuela, where he met with Nicolas Maduro. The message is clear: Russia seeks to consolidate a network of strategic alliances in the region, a kind of energy and political axis of the South stretching from Caracas to Havana. With a view to future regional economic integration, the geopolitical chessboard is in motion, and Moscow is moving its pieces with surgical precision.
Thus, Russian aid to Cuba is not simply a shipment of fuel. It is an act of symbolic warfare against the old order. It is proof that international solidarity is not dead, that there are still countries willing to cross oceans for their allies, and it is also a source of hope. For Cuba, it represents immediate relief. For Latin America, a sign that not all is lost. For the world, a warning that the old powers can no longer act with impunity. The gesture also has cultural consequences. While Cuban children receive gifts from the Russian delegation, a seed is planted. This is not just temporary aid, it is the construction of a shared narrative, a collective memory that strengthens ties across generations. It is the patria granda beginning to be woven not from the elites, but from the people, from the concrete actions that transform everyday life. And here is where it all makes sense. Energy is not just electricity, it is power, autonomy, sovereignty. And when it comes in the hands of a strategic alliance like BRICS, it also becomes a weapon against exclusion. While some in the north tighten sanctions, in the south, alliances emerge, new trade routes open, new forms of resistance take shape. Today, Cuba is not only lit up by Russian diesel, it is illuminated by a promise, never to be alone again. It is lit by the certainty that a new world is being born, one where the peoples of the south no longer kneel, but walk together toward a horizon of shared dignity. Because history is no longer written only in Washington or Brussels, it is also written in Moscow, in Caracas, in Havana. And with every ship that breaks the blockade, the silence is broken too.